Yo, what's up, guys? Soweto here, and you're listening to PodKasi. PodKasi, an evangelical show dedicated to bringing the gospel of Jesus Christ to people of Soweto. Thank you, Soweto. So today we continue the discussion. If whether religion is a betrayal of intellect. So last time I was telling you about the practices of the Jewish and of the Egyptians and the Greek and the beliefs of most scientists and how those gave birth to religion. And so for this episode we're going to be discussing about the experiences of a very famous scientist or biologist, Richard Dawkins, and the smartest man arguably that ever lived, behind Jesus and Solomon, okay, but the smartest man that ever lived, until Albert Einstein, and his views about God. So sit back, relax, until take out a notepad. Let's have a dialogue. So last time we cut in, so let's transition to today's episode. Thanks for joining us. It is a result of the human mind. It is how we interpret the data which has been presented to us. So we see the same thing, but we draw different conclusions. So are those conclusions always right? Nah, not everyone is gifted in that degree. But what is really dope about the Bible is that it actually tells us about these things. And Paul says in Romans chapter 1, from verse 18. When we read it, the Bible says, "The wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all the godlessness and wickedness of men who suppress the truth by their wickedness, since what may be known about God is plain to them, because God has made it plain to them. For since the creation of the world," so this is not a new thing, "since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that men are without excuse." So we all see it. We all see the majesty and the beauty of the universe. We see these invisible characteristics. We see them. But Paul also explained. When we continue to read, it says, "For although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God nor gave thanks to him, but their thinking became futile, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like mortal men and birds and animals and reptiles." And so on. "Therefore God gave them over in the sinful desires of their hearts to sexual impurity, for the degrading of their bodies with one another. And so they exchanged the truth of God for a lie and worshipped and served created things rather than the Creator, who is forever praised. Amen." We see nature, we see the beauty and the glory of the universe. No single human being can deny it. No single human being can deny the Shandisle. We see nature, but there are two possible conclusions, or there are two possible results that can come about. So it's either we will see the beauty and the majesty of nature and say, the works of God, or we can attribute it to creation. We look at the Egyptians. They saw the sun and they were creative and called it Ra. So Ra is a metaphorical way of or let's say it is the personification of the sun. Now, we have to give attribute to human creativity. Einstein also looked at the beauty of nature and was like, this is God. Anton, this must be God. But no. It cannot be a personal God. It cannot be a personal God. Anton, it must be something else. That is what happened. That is what happened, and this is the problem. That is the problem. And this is the thing with human beings. There is always the desire to create idols. I do not know why. Like there's always this desire, to replace God. And so, like let's forget even what Paul is saying. Let's look at Moses and sort of from way back had to warn the Israelites. Had to warn the Israelites when we read Deuteronomy chapter 4, where Masfunda verse 19. He says, and when you look up to the sky and see the sun, the moon, and the stars, all the heavenly array, do not be enticed into bowing down to them and worshipping the things the Lord your God has appointed to all the nations under heaven. So he had to even warn them. He had to even warn them, don't be enticed. Don't be enticed. Don't be enticed. You look to there is this thing when we see this beauty, when we see all this glory, Puma a desire to bow down to it. And this happens all the time. Human beings are very, 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 very creative. Human beings are very, 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 very creative. We are very creative, and I don't think we realize how creative we actually are. How we interpret nature, that will surely lead us in two different directions. It's either you will create an idol for yourself, or you will bow down to the one true God. Richard Dawkins, he shares in his book, The God Delusion. So, in the book, like chapter 1 of the book, it's titled A Deeply Religious Non-Believer. Imagine that, he's deeply, deeply religious, but he's a non-believer. So he quotes Einstein and says that. So Einstein once said, I don't try to imagine a personal God. It suffices to stand in awe of the structure of the world insofar as it allows our inadequate senses to appreciate it. So to the atheist or to scientists who speak of a God, it is impossible to imagine like a God, a being. God is a being. Nah. They've replaced God with the laws of nature. Now. I think Richard puts it very dopely. I'm calling over top down like so yeah. Whoever I to say Richard. I said Ubab Richard. Yeah, Papa Richard, yeah. And so he shares the story. So here it goes. He says, the boy lay prone in the grass, his chin resting on his hands. He suddenly found himself overwhelmed by a heightened awareness of the tangled stems and roots, a forest in microcosm, a transfigured world of ants and beetles, and even though he wouldn't have known the details at the time, of soil bacteria by the billions, silently and visibly showing up the economy of the micro-world. Suddenly, the microforest of the turf seemed to swell and become one with the universe, and with the rapt mind of the boy contemplating it, he interpreted the experience in religious terms, and it led eventually to the it led him. He interpreted the experience in religious terms, and it led him eventually to the priesthood. He was ordained an Anglican priest and became a chaplain at my school, a teacher of whom I was fond. It is thanks to decent liberal clergymen like him that nobody could ever claim that I had religion forced down my throat. In another time and place, that boy could have been me under the stars, dazzled by Orion, Cassiopeia, and Ursa Major, tearful with the unheard music of the Milky Way, heady with the night scents of frangipani and trumpet flowers in the African garden. Why the same emotion should have led my chaplain in one direction and me in the other is not an easy question to answer. And that is the point that I'm making. Why did Richard Dawkins end up writing a book saying God is a delusion? And why did his teacher end up becoming a priest or a clergyman? That is the thing, that it depends on how we interpret the evidence. The Bible clearly tells us that they have replaced the creator for the created thing. And it happens all the time. Look at any religion. Look at any religion or system of belief. That is what happened. And the only nation that did not do that was the nation of Israel. Okay, they did it actually, as we read the Bible. And so there was some idolatry, but the only nation, the only people that did not do that were the Jews. Look at every civilization. It happens even in Africa. We know we were created by God. We're spiritual beings. And so if I die and then you begin to worship me, Uti, I am your ancestor, are you not replacing the created thing? I'm not disputing to corner spirits, and when we die we have spirits. But now once you place me in the position of God when I'm dead, are you not replacing God with the created thing? Some worship angels and all. There are angels they some bow down to demons and all. Yeah, are you not replacing the created thing with the creator? I don't care how powerful or how what. Are you not doing the same thing? And so it is how we respond to the evidence that has been given to us. When we read The Way of Life by Zacharias Tani Formam, he explains it in chapter 2 of the book. He explains it. He explains communism and atheism is a religion. And so those things of the free thinkers and all that, it is materialism, and so it is humanism. And so they have replaced God. Okay, he does not use those words per se, but he explains it is a religion. And so we some even go to the point of saying human beings are God. And that is the switch up, and that is the idolatry. And the Bible clearly tells us idolatry is what is an abomination. Must be Deuteronomy chapter 4, from verse 15. Moses tells the Israelites, "You saw no form of any kind the day the Lord spoke to you at Horeb out of the fire. Therefore watch yourselves very carefully, so that you do not become corrupt and make for yourselves an idol, an image of any shape, whether formed like a man or a woman, or like any animal on earth, or any bird that flies in the air, or like any creature that moves along the ground, or any fish in the waters below." And so he warns them. What did people do? The Egyptians, they took umuntu, they formed an image of a man, and so Ra has the body of a man and the head of a bird, and so then we can say, but Tyson did not do that. So verse 19 applies to him. When you look up to the sky and see the sun, the moon, and the stars, and all the heavenly array, do not be enticed into bowing down to them and worshipping things that the Lord your God has apportioned to all the nations under heaven. All those that commit idolatry, will burn. You have rejected God. You have committed an abomination. So is religion a betrayal of intelligence? No. Intelligence gives birth to religion. It is the working of the human mind. And some ideas are not that sharp. Some ideas are not that bright. But either way, religion, there's a video, there's a podcast that I recorded discussing what is religion. I think I touched on this. It is the product of the human mind. So have your brain cells dropped from listening to this podcast? Does your head feel a little bit lighter? Is this like one of the dumbest things you've ever heard in your life? Or does this actually make sense? Does this make you think about all the times and all the ways in which your mind has played tricks on you? Maybe you thought that there was a boogeyman under your bed, or when you switched off the lights, you felt like there was someone who was watching you. Has your brain ever played tricks on you? Maybe you felt like someone was calling you. I don't know. Tell me your views and your opinions down below. And don't forget to like, because that really does help the channel. And don't forget to subscribe, but don't subscribe to the channel, but subscribe to Jesus, because that is what is important. This is PodKasi.